Hey guys, I'm Sean McCauley with Cloud Defensive, and tonight we're going to talk about the second generation Rein light. Okay, so let's talk about the second generation Rein light. This is the first light that we weren't really planning on building. and the reason I say that is we created the first generation, and it's been received remarkably well. It performs fantastic in the field. We're loving it. A lot of people are loving it. But again, we're shooters, right? So we listen to what's going on out there in social media and all the feedback we're getting through customer service. Keep it coming. Thank you. The one thing that people said, right, was that the Rein was too big. They said the outer diameter was a little bit too big. And when you start to play around laser systems, that could be a factor, absolutely. And they also said it was a little bit too heavy. So we just listened to you and we said, well, we hadn't really planned on it, right? But let's just go ahead and get a second generation. So that's what we did. We dug right in for you. And the second generation is right in front of you now. So a couple of things here. First of all, it's got all the guts of the original Rein. So it's still got the battery jack feature where your battery is fully supported. That's an industry first. And honestly, it's a feature you really want in a weapon light. It still utilizes the same remote switching. So if you've got an existing tail cap, it works. And basically, we gave it a facelift. We made it smaller, we made it lighter, and we made it brighter. So just to kind of go from the front to the back here, this is the second generation unit. And just to compare it to the first generation unit, the bezel is a whole lot smaller. So basically, you're approximately 1.2 inches, a little bit over that, on the outer diameter here, and you're approximately 1.4 inches on the first generation unit. So this is a ton smaller. It's also lighter weight. If you compare it, you will see that it is a substantial amount. And when you start to add suppressors and lasers and heavier hand guards, say like a Mark 18 rail or something like that, those ounces do add up, I'll be the first to say it. So it absolutely matters that it's a lot lighter. And then we also made it shorter. So just to kind of show you, I'm gonna line these up for the camera, and there is your length difference. So we trimmed about 300 thousandths, about 3/10 of an inch approximately, off of this thing. So you can see it set up on the rifle here. It is substantially enhanced. And when you add all that together, you've got a package that I believe is a lot more desirable. We will continue to sell the first generation light with the bezel ring. So if you want that S7 tool steel, if you need literally to hell and back with this light, it's still available to you. So we didn't just delete it, but for those who didn't want it, we wanted to give you something. It's really important that we basically tailor our products to the users and what they need. So in deleting that, that's honestly where a lot of that weight savings came in. And then we also adjusted the reflector, we adjusted the diode, we adjusted the electrical system. There were actually some significant enhancements in the second generation unit. And what you get is a light that is, again, smaller, lighter, and brighter. So on the performance side, you've got approximately, we're still confirming as of this video, approximately 70,000 candela at approximately 1100 lumens. So you're able to throw light a really long way. On a carbine that's really useful. Now what I will say is we also tested some light heads along the way that we didn't like. Matt comes to mind. He was actually doing a shoot house class up at Alliance, and I started to get angry texts at 1 in the morning, as we do, and he's like, hey, this light sucks. And I was like, what's going on? And then it occurred to me that he had a prototype that we'd created that had too much candela, and he wasn't able to do proper searching. There were blind spots and shadows, and basically it was kind of creating havoc in a CQB environment. So again, being shooters, this is where we can prototype stuff, and that's really cool, but when you take it out and if it doesn't work right in that environment, it's not the right tool, so we didn't make it. And that's where we start to dial the reflector again, and we say, hey, hotspot is really cool and candela is incredibly important, but it doesn't do you any good if it's a laser beam that's not capable of searching, right? You need usable spill. We're talking about a weaponized application. You need situational awareness. So by dialing that back a little bit, bringing it back to about that 70,000 candela, again, at 1100 lumens, you're getting a really concentrated beam, which is capable of a lot of stuff downrange, but you're also creating usable spill. And when you go into a room in a CQB environment, you're also gonna get a lot of ability to light up that room, just because you're gonna get, whether it's umbrella lighting or floorboard or any other technique you're using, a lot of light being put into that space. So a lot of thought actually went into the performance. It's not just about making a candela monster. I mean, honestly, that's not hard to do, but it doesn't do you any good to put that on a gun and just say, oh, I've got all this candela, and then you get into an environment where it's actually detrimental. So we deleted that tool steel off the bezel. So the first question a lot of people are going to ask is, what's the durability, right? And the answer is, it's still incredibly robust. The aluminum around the bezel is incredibly strong. This is still toughest in class. It just is, period. And if you look at the glass, what you're going to find is that it's still that 3mm glass. It's rated for simunition rounds, up close and personal, just like its predecessor was. And if you are absolutely hell-bent on needing tool steel, it's still available. We didn't discontinue this. We just also introduced the second gen. So if you want it, it's there. That's really important to us because, again, there's a million people out there and everybody wants something slightly different. And I say it all the time, we need to offer the best tools for as many people as possible. It's not just a one-size-fits-all solution around here. So, really important there. Secondly, lug profile. This is something that was really important to us. Again, we run a lot of lasers and other fun stuff around here. And the farther these lugs are away from the body, the more that light stands off. Now, you might say, well, why were the lugs so far out to begin with? And the answer is actually, again, in the bezel diameter. When you put that bigger bezel on there, if you don't have enough standoff, you're actually going to have interference issues with your rail. So we did what we did on purpose, but as soon as we shrunk the bezel diameter, we could shrink the lugs. So we brought her down tight, so now it's a lot tighter to your gun. It's going to make for a lot tighter overall package. I think that's going to resonate with a lot of people, actually. It still clears all the backup sights and everything it needs to clear. It's lower and a little bit sleeker. So let's talk about the remote switch a little bit. We made two meaningful updates here, and they're not crazy big, but they are important. First thing is we deleted a little bit of material off the side plates. It makes it a little bit sleeker, a little bit lower profile. Second thing we did, I think, is a little bit more critical, is we reduced the ND protection here. And what you're going to find is that we have ND protection front and rear, and then we scooped it out in the middle. And what that amounts to is when you put your hand in there, you can access those buttons easier, you can key them easier, and the switch is just a lot more responsive. It's still fully potted and bad to the bone. We just simply removed a little bit of material because that's what you guys had asked for. That covers the overview of the second generation Rein light. Again, small but meaningful changes in a package that's smaller, lighter, and brighter.